Hey guys, it's Monday, so it's time for the Monday motivation message, the start to another great week. I want to talk to you today about motivations behind your decisions. I was having a conversation yesterday with a friend who's trying to make a decision on whether or not to take a specific trip out of the country next year. And she had a lot of hesitations, and we kept coming up against these questions. And I said to her finally, what's behind all these questions? Is it wisdom or is it fear? And what's interesting is she admits that there's a lot of fear driving the decisions she's making. Fear of things that people have said to her along the way, like, throughout her life, like you shouldn't leave your children to go on a trip. You're a bad mother if you do that. Certain specific things that have been said to her that created limiting beliefs that was driving her lack of ability to make a decision to do something that on all other levels was a good thing, was a good decision. So we started talking about what really motivates our choices. And, that combined with the podcast last week with Lisa Pettit, which if you haven't had a chance to listen to it, it's an incredible podcast. And one of the things, her story is just amazing. But one of the things she talks about is the decisions that she made as a parent and that they were fear-driven, not wisdom-driven. And she made an interesting point, and she said, look, the choice and the decision itself may have been the same. For example, if she didn't want her kids to do a certain sleepover or watch a certain movie or play a certain video game because of her desire to keep them out of a situation that she may think was dangerous or unwise, but she said, listen, that decision may have been the same outcome, but what drove it was not wisdom, it was fear. And she said, I think my kids could pick up on that. They knew that my decisions were fear-based, and that's an entirely different way of coming at life, is fear-based versus wisdom-based. Because definitely in life, there are times when we get that check in our spirit, or we should have something that tells us this is a good decision, this is not a good decision, and that comes from a place of wisdom, and we can ask for that wisdom. But when it's driven by fear, which is always rooted in a limiting belief, then that is an entirely different subject. And we're driven then, our decisions are driven by fear. And the outcomes are really different. It really is. The motivation behind our choices is what matters. The motivation is what ultimately drives the life experiences that we have. So the message today is be careful and look at the choices you're making and say to yourself, is this choice that I'm making now, is it driven in or by wisdom, where I've asked for wisdom, I've thought about something, I've checked how I feel about it, or is it driven by fear, based in a limiting belief, based in something that somebody maybe put inside of you, a seed that was planted or an experience that you had that drove that fear? So what is the motivation behind my choices? We make so many choices all day long. I don't think we stop to think about our motivations. And that ultimately is very important, because the more that we make decisions based out of wisdom and not based out of fear, the better we get at making good decisions, the better we get at choosing things for our life that are right for us, choosing things for our children that are right for them. If we're constantly driven by fear, we're bound to eventually make a bad choice where we don't then get to experience something we're meant to experience in life, or we shut off an opportunity that was meant for us, or we take a longer path to get somewhere. So take the time now as you make decisions in your life to look at your motivation and challenge yourself. If that motivation behind that decision is fear-based, then find the limiting belief and say, why am I making these decisions from fear? It's not so much the actual decision that is the problem, it's the motivation behind it that you need to deal with. Because once you uncover whether that motivation is based out of wisdom or based out of fear, then that will allow you in the fear case to find the limiting belief. Because trust me, if there is fear based in your decisions and you find that limiting belief is driving other negative things in your life. And we always want to uncover limiting beliefs as we go about life and as we pursue our purpose, so that we can correct them, heal them, and then be that much more ready to experience our destiny and walk in our purpose. So this week, your assignment is to look at the motivations behind your decisions. Challenge yourself. If they're fear-based, be honest with yourself. If they're fear-based, find the limiting belief that's behind it and cure the limiting belief. If you don't know how to do that, get the book. Get my book, Master Your Mindset the Master's Way. It has a 14-step process that helps you cure your limiting beliefs, conquer them, turn them around so you can start making decisions based out of wisdom and you can start making decisions that actually pull purpose into your life. That is a challenge this week. Have a great week. We will see you online.